A&A Custom Crafts on Facebook.
Hello, gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of the Bo and Joe Show. It's Wednesday night. The whole crew is back tonight. Hi, Adrian. Hi, Bodine. How are you?
Joe.
What's up, Joe?
I missed you both last week. But Crispy Bacon held the fort down. I was like, I don't know if you got a chance to see the show, but I was like, our TB12 is missing, so we had to use the backup quarterback, and the backup quarterback did well. So Crispy Bacon was the man.
Perfect.
Great job.
He's always. I didn't realize Adrian wasn't on.
I saw. So I was out and about, and then I wasn't paying attention because I had mentioned the week before that I probably wouldn't. Then I looked on my phone and I was like, "Oh God, she's not going to be there." and I'm sitting out with friends. I'm out there having a couple beers and relaxing. So I was like, "Okay, well, I can't hop on from here."
All right. Well, the Hammer handled it. He handled it with his backup. Yeah, backup. I love it. Perfect. All right, so let's jump into, speaking of TB, we got Tom Brady back in the folds, as you predicted, Bodine. And Justin, of course, as he's already here commenting, Tom Brady's back. So I'm a little surprised. I didn't think it was going to, I wasn't certain that it wouldn't happen, but I didn't think it would happen that quickly.
He never left. That's my whole point. He never left. Until you hand in that paperwork and say you're retired, you're not retired. So,
well, you know what I'm enjoying? I'm enjoying listening to all the people out there who have no clue what his plan was, why he said he was going to retire, and just listening to them all give their opinions on, well, I think the wife told him that, you need to be with the family some more. And then he got there and he's moping around and she's like, "What's wrong? What's wrong, TB?" And nothing. Just all the stuff it's just funny to listen to these people like they're sitting in the house and they really have the answer.
Like they're a fly on the wall, right?
Exactly. Oh man.
Well, was there a strategic move behind it, Bodine? I mean, did it have something to do with his contract or exposure? Or, I mean, what do you think why say you're retiring and then come back?
He's a diva. What are you talking about? He's doing almost the same thing Brett Favre did, and probably many other quarterbacks have done. But those other quarterbacks did not garner the opinions of the entire world because he's TB12, right? If you remember, Joe, if you don't remember, Brett Favre was the drama queen of drama queens. He took us on a roller coaster ride. They literally had helicopters parked at, above his house, seeing where he was going. If he went to the airport, what type of plane he got in and where did that plane land? I mean, it was just crazy. So I just didn't put any stock into trying to, I didn't want TB12 living rent free in my head, right? Because he makes too much money and I don't make as much as he does. So I'm not allowing that. I knew once the 14th date came, which was Monday, he needed to hand in that paperwork by 3:00 or Tampa was going to get penalized for him being on the roster and then he retires afterwards, right? You don't want to do that. That means you're hurting your team. Give them a chance to trade you if you're going to do something, right? So when he didn't hand in that paperwork, once it broke, what was it, a month or two ago, a month and a half ago or whatever, I knew this dude wasn't retiring because if he was going to do it, he'd have did it. He'd have handed in the paperwork, moved on, and say, okay, it's time for me to, get deeply involved. Like, what's the guy's name on Fox Sports 1? Colin Cowherd. Oh, Tom Brady has, multiple businesses. He's got a production company. He's got his TB12 brand. He's got all this stuff going on. It's time for him to become the CEO. Yeah, okay, we'll see, right? Other people are running those companies while he's playing football. What is he all of a sudden going to do? Walk in the door and say, okay, I'm here, and ruin the chemistry of the office? Come on. So he's got too much. Too many guys have played this game who get hurt and have to leave. They have to retire. Their bodies are worn out. His body is not worn out. He hasn't lost a step. He threw for more yardage than any other quarterback in the league. There's nothing wrong with Tom Brady. Why should he retire? When Peyton Manning retired, he could barely lift his arm. He had to retire. Tom Brady's in great shape. So I didn't see it. I really didn't see it. So.
Well, you were right. Definitely right. So did you see the story that so the day before he retired, did you see that there was an auction and somebody bought the ball that they thought was going to be the last touchdown or the last pass thrown, and he paid $512,000 or something like that for the ball, and now they're saying at best it's going to be worth about $50,000.
Wow.
Well, he can just say that that's from retirement number 1. After retirement number 2, he can resell it for the true retirement vault.
So just the story in itself, I'm sure.
Oh, it's hilarious, right? The things that people do. But there's a huge market out there, right? Listen, I have a 30-year-old clean, still folded, never posted on my wall Nintendo poster. I'm thinking about trying to find out what that thing is worth. Right? Nintendo poster, unopened, in the plastic, never opened and put on your wall, unused Nintendo poster. If somebody's willing to pay $10,000 for a Michael Jordan ticket, right? Game ticket from his rookie year, his first game as a Chicago Bull player, someone paid some crazy amount of money. I think it was like $10,000. It could be more for a ticket. I'm thinking, could my poster be worth $5,000? I have no idea. No idea. So people will do things out there, Joe, that you just wouldn't believe. Used sneakers and all kinds of stuff. It's just amazing. It's a lot of money out there.
Kelvin's joining us, and he's saying, any of us that had the opportunity to play sports knows you never want to stop playing.
That's the point.
That's true.
Don't stop unless you have to. If you can still play, play. Because when it's time to stop, when your body tells you you can't do it anymore, that's when you got to go to therapy. Because your mind is telling you want to, but your body's saying no. Like Peyton Manning, his mind was telling him yes, but his arm was saying, dude, you can't even lift your arm up in the morning. Time to retire. So Tom Brady hasn't had as many surgeries as Peyton Manning. We're using Peyton Manning because he's really, in that same level of, right, in that same space in terms of a Hall of Famer. Peyton was beat up, right? He just couldn't do it. Tom Brady can probably run as fast as half of the starting quarterbacks out there. Half. The other top half will blow him away. But the bottom half, he's probably just as fast as they are. And he's 44 years old. So
I think he's at the back. I think he's at the bottom of that bottom half.
okay.
He was never fast.
Right? But the point is, he's 44 years old, and he can still run. He can still throw. There's nothing hurting him. He looks like he's 30, right? Doesn't he look like he's 30? He doesn't look 44 years old. So why would he retire? And his records, if he keeps piling up the records, no one's ever going to catch him. So why not pile up the records and still play, still enjoy it? They just loaded up on a wide receiver. So it's not like they're giving up the ship. They just got a really good receiver from free agency. They're stacking up.
Now that he stated he's back, now they're going to start putting pieces around him.
They got a chance to go back to the Super Bowl.
They have a chance.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Frank is saying 1 minute he's retired, the next minute he's not. I would think he would be a free agent because if he signed his retirement papers, that means Tampa doesn't own the rights to him. That if he signed on the dotted line about his retirement, but he didn't sign, right, Bodine?
That is correct.
But that's still not true.
And what's not true?
Even if he signed his retirement papers, if he comes back, Tampa Bay still has the rights to him based on the previous agreement.
Right. They would. Right. They correct. The only thing about the retirement thing that wasn't put in that statement, if you hand in your retirement papers and then decide to unretire, you lose your retirement funds and you start over again as if you're a rookie. Mm-hmm. So why would you retire and have this lump sum of money you're going to get paid for the rest of your life, jeopardize that fee, that sum of money, that bucket of money to start over again, right? So no, he wasn't going to do that. If anything, business-wise, that doesn't make sense, right? Let's say he's getting $5,000 a month for the rest of his life. Well, if he signs the retirement papers and comes back, he starts at zero again. He's not vested anymore, right? He becomes basically a rookie.
Yep.
That's crazy. He wasn't going to do that.
Frank is saying you're right. Tim Fielder's saying, hi, Tim, never thought he'd stay retired. Brett Favre has more retirements than Villanova. Final four. Yeah.
You're right, Sarge. He did. I'll tell you. Brett Favre told people every other week he was retiring. And next thing you know, he ends up at another team. I'm telling you, it was a whole summer. For those who remember, Brett Favre drove everybody crazy. Where is he going? What is he doing? They literally followed this dude from the time he walked out of his house. Even if he got on his tractor to cut the grass, they were like helicopters looking at him. I was like, this is crazy.
Speaking of crazy, so did you see the, I never watched any part of a combine before, but I watched a little bit of it. And did you see the Georgia lineman, Jordan Davis, at 341 pounds? He runs a 40-yard dash in 4.78 seconds. I mean, he was pretty impressive. He could move. I mean, he's certainly a big gentleman, but that's
why I played defense. I was a strong safety. I could not imagine being a running back or a tight end, even a quarterback, and this guy running at you. Come on. No, I want him on my side of the ball so I can be a part of that hit, not being hit.
You're not going to go try to stand him up.
No, that's like getting hit by a car. No.
And not only that, I mean, think about how fast he can run. It's not just like any defensive player. I mean, he's fast for sure. Frank is saying it's great to be in America. You have money, you have fame, you have power to do whatever you want. No regular Joe can do that. I mean, that's certainly true.
The night that happened, I was on the phone with my dad, and I said, he's about to buy his mama a new house because his stock went from in the top 20 to the top 10 just from that alone.
And Andy saying, them dogs, go dogs. He wasn't the only impressive one.
There were tons of them.
From Georgia. Yeah.
Because they had a defense.
Yeah.
They really did. They had a great defense the entire season. They had that one blip, one blurb during the season. But other than that, please,
Yeah,
boys were
no
good.
doubt.
Some boys were good.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, so let's Justin's throwing it to you, Adrian. Adrian, the MLB is back. So the lockout's done.
Lockout's over. Crazy free agency season. Lot of unhappy play. Well, let me say this: there were a lot of unhappy people here in Atlanta, with them picking up Matt Olson from the Oakland A's, their first baseman, which was the immediate indication that Freddie Freeman wasn't coming back. And I think the funny thing is what a lot of people didn't really understand was that Matt Olson played here at Parkview High School in this great Gwinnett County that I live in. So he's a local boy. And once they figured out, oh, he's actually from here in Metro Atlanta, they kind of got over Freddie Freeman not being here. So a lot of things going on. Yankees got rid of Gary Sanchez finally for a couple pieces. It's silly season and it's a fast break for free agency in Major League Baseball, because if you knew what was going on, once the lockout happened, all transactions or potential transactions had to stop. Free agency stopped. You weren't allowed to make any trades. And with the number of high salary players, top players that were on the free agency market, there's just a lot of work to do. We'll see what happens though, because they're going to be ready in a month, which for pitching means that at the beginning of the season, we're going to get a lot of short outings from starters, because they probably will only be up to maybe 65 pitch maximum by the time the first games of the season happen. So it'll be interesting to see. And the bullpens are going to get a lot of work early come that first week of the season because of that. But we're happy it's back.
We're definitely happy it's back. All right, and so tell us about your outing last week. You weren't here last week. You were out enjoying sports in the arena live. So tell us about your trip and the games and how it was.
So I know Bo's been there before as well, and I know I'm biased, but I'm just gonna say this: there is nothing like the Big East tournament. And the reason, well, let me put it this way. There's nothing like the Big East tournament for Northeastern basketball junkies. Let's put it that way. So if you're from the Northeast and you grew up in, that New York metropolitan area, Philly, DC, New England, because Boston College used to be a part of the Big East as well, and you still have Providence and UConn. If you grew up in that area, the Big East tournament is everything. So what was special about it is, this is the first time UConn has been back to the Big East tournament since coming back and rejoining the Big East, and UConn was a charter member of the Big East before they left to try to get that football money. So it was a great week. Obviously, Villanova came out and got the brass ring after coming back from being down against Seton Hall by 17. With about 15 minutes to go in their second round, the quarterfinal game. But the atmosphere was great. It was just a great week. It's probably the most fun week I've had in quite a long time. And I knew it would be that way, and just Villanova winning it just tops it off for me.
Yeah, it sounds fun. I'm glad you had a good time. Next year, Bodine and I are going too.
Hey, I'll be there. So let's go. Let's roll.
Well, listen, you have to experience it, Joe. I've experienced it a few times. It is absolutely. There are places in the country that I can say have. Let's talk about the ACC and the SEC. They were known for football for a long, long, long time, but they have done over the past 25 years, 30 years, they've done a better job of improving their basketball experience, where they now can say that they have a great tournament, right? The SEC and the ACC. But it all started with the Big East, without a doubt. Big East was the king when we were in school, and we had more teams that were powerhouse schools back then. So folks have tried to duplicate that on a smaller scale. Here in the Philadelphia market, we call it the Big Five. Temple, Villanova, St. Joe's, Drexel, Penn, and LaSalle. On a smaller scale, it's just as big. So when you're talking about schools in the East, like I grew up in the South, where basketball was good, on the high school level, but it is absolutely nothing like East Coast, Northeast basketball. My first experience at the Palestra, which is the University of Penn, if you haven't been to a game at the University of Penn, you don't know what you're missing. It is absolutely incredible. Because of the way that the building is built, it's an old building, and the acoustics in the building make it seems like there's an earthquake when the crowd is in an uproar. It is unbelievable. So the Big East is absolutely, to me, yes, let's be biased, right? It's the Big East, but I know the ACC and SEC has done a better job. So,
and it's also about where they play. So
right.
we're talking about the Garden.
Right.
This tournament has been played
Right.
in Madison Square Garden
right.
since the very first tournament, and there's just there aren't many places like the Garden when it comes to something like that. So it's a home court for St. John's. A lot of those teams, they've played in the Garden so much. It's a second home court for some of them, and it is St. John's home court. So to play there, and when you talk about the Palestra, you're absolutely right, Bo. Back in the day when we went, not only do you have the Palestra, the acoustics, but then you have throwing the streamers out at the first on the first basket. You got to stop the game because the court is full with ribbon and streamers, and
they don't do that anymore. Right? They don't do that anymore. Yep.
Yeah, they don't do it anymore. But it's a tradition, and it's unmatched.
We're a bunch of OGs reminiscing, saying, "Get off my lawn."
Yeah, man. Palestra and then Smokey Joe's after, right?
Oh, but look at him. Still giving our secrets away. But but even the professional athletes in the NBA love playing in the Garden, right? Michael Jordan looked forward to going to New York and dropping double nickels, right? Now you've got, and this is part, I don't know if you guys were going to talk about this tonight when we do talk about the NBA. You had KD, Kevin Durant, and Kyrie Irving scoring as teammates, scoring at least 50 points. I didn't know this, but that's never been done before.
Yeah, KD scored 53 the game before, and Kyrie dropped 60 last night. So it's the first time
and
ever.
They're teammates, right? You would think think Kobe would have done it with Shaq. You would think Wilt would have done it when he was with Jerry West. You'd think Magic would have done it with Kareem and that crew. No one has ever done it. So why is that statement important? Because just imagine if Kyrie Irving would have got his shot when everybody else got their shot. Literally, the Brooklyn Nets would be the number one team in the NBA. But because he refuses to get a shot, his home team doesn't even get a chance to see him drop 60. That makes no sense to me, right? But we'll see what happens in a couple of weeks when they change the rules. Maybe the home team will get a chance to see him drop 60. But that's amazing. He and his teammate are the only teammates that have ever done that in the NBA history. And you're talking about a lot of great players that have played in the NBA over the years who were teammates, and it's never happened before. I just thought that was wow. I was like, that blew me away. But that just goes to show you. Go ahead.
Something I heard today I didn't realize. Remember, we talked about the NBA and the All-Star game, and they named their 75 best players. Mm-hmm. I didn't realize until someone said it today. Kyrie Irving was not on that list. He was not named one of the top 75, but like Dame Lillard was. Kyrie, his talent level and his ability to play the game compared to someone like Dame Lillard,
and he has a ring, and Dame doesn't.
Yeah.
But a lot of that voting is what? Subjective to the voters.
Yeah, and I don't like you.
Right? It's just like getting into the Baseball Hall of Fame, right?
Yep.
So, but he'll get in eventually, but he'll be included maybe in the top 100 when they move it from 75 to 100, because they will have no choice, right? They will have no choice but to add him to that list, because it's crazy if they don't, because he is absolutely talented. Absolutely.
Yep.
All right, where next? We're going to talk about March Madness at all? What are your thoughts?
Well, let's finish with the NFL, and then we'll go to March Madness, since that's what we're in right now, right? So all the movement, we got TB, who's now playing, who really wasn't retired. We covered that. You got Russell Wilson going to Denver, right? Mm-hmm. You guys, we might have talked about that last week when you guys weren't here. That's huge, right?
Well, they just announced that Von Miller is leaving LA. He's going to Buffalo Bills.
Mm-hmm. Yep, there's a lot of movement. So when you think about Russell Wilson, Patrick Mahomes, the quarterback Herbert from the LA Chargers, and if Oakland keeps their quarterback, that is the strongest division for quarterbacks. Those games are going to be absolutely on TV every game, right? You're talking 4 of the best quarterbacks in the league. So there'll be a lot of TV coverage for those games when they match up against each other within that division. I'm looking forward to that. That's going to make the next season good.
So hi, George. George is saying, hi, all. Been a busy day and night here with all the NFL free agency. Watson is torn on his decision, basically holding the NFL hostage.
Well, yeah, that's another big story there. Deshaun Watson not going to be indicted, which just opened the floodgates for him to be able to make that move. And for him, I guess it's a good thing, because he's got that no trade clause. So basically, he can decide where he wants to go.
He's still gonna get suspended, without a doubt. It won't be as bad as we would think, right? Because he did sit out a whole year, so that was kind of like his penalty from a team standpoint. So he just got to get disciplined from the league. That might be
cover girls
4 or 5 maybe games, a quarter of the games in the season. But whoever
the question
gets it,
would be when, though, because
yeah.
obviously he's not indicted.
Right.
The civil cases, they're nowhere near, being adjudicated. So the question is going to be when. I mean, that may not even happen this year. You know what I mean? It's possible that that's down the road.
Yeah. So that's what the team that's picking him up is going to have to make that decision on. Are they prepared for him to be on the team? Are you going to play him and allow him to compete for the starting job? Or do you want to get him on the team and have him as a backup until the decision is made when he's going to miss games? And then, so, there's a lot of that stuff that, we'll find out as it plays itself out. But whoever gets him automatically gets elevated if he's on a good team. The team gets elevated because we know he was a good quarterback. That's going to be very interesting.
Absolutely. We have Aaron Rodgers changing, agreeing to a modification of his agreement, which opened up, what was it, like 22 million, cleared like 22 million in cap space for the Packers. Was that the number? I think he was at 48 and now it's down to 26 or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know all those details. I just know he's guaranteed 50 for the first year, and I believe it's 10 guaranteed every year after that, with incentives to take him up to 50 per year. But the bottom line is they're still not going to win a Super Bowl because if you can't follow the TB12 formula, which is the same formula Michael Jordan did. Remember, Michael did the same thing. Michael was never the highest paid basketball player in the league every year. He took less money so he could have the right players on the team so he could win. Tom Brady is doing the same thing. Tom Brady could easily claim to be the highest paid quarterback in the league. But he knows that's going to hurt his chances of getting other talent so he can continue to win. Aaron Rodgers don't want to win a Super Bowl. Why you want to take $50 million a year? That ain't helping you win, because that limits the players around you. It's a team game. If his wide receiver says, I want to be paid as the top wide receiver in the league, then how much money do you have left to pay somebody else? You got to have a better offensive line. You got to pay your defensive lineman. You got to pay the defense. Come on. Tom Brady is the perfect formula. Take less money and win. So Aaron Rodgers ain't winning a Super Bowl again, but he's going to get paid. That's for sure.
Yeah, he's going to get paid a lot. And Kelvin is saying exactly, Bo. You're exactly right.
I mean, come on. Do you want to win or do you want to get paid?
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, if you think about it, year after year, that was always the story when it came to Tom Brady. The story was always how was his contract being renegotiated so he could make room to bring in this guy, bring in that guy. I think the other piece of that, though, is the Patriots were very good at bringing in people that fit their system and their mentality. And so they never overpaid anybody, quite honestly. You know what I mean? And their roster, I think their roster changed year by year, probably more than anybody else's roster I've ever seen for a team that kept consistently winning. Just think about the pieces. Think about their slot receivers that they used to have and they changed. Think about the linebackers that they've had come in and out of there and played for them, and the defensive backs. Never really had any great running backs. You know what I mean? Never any great ones, had good ones. Never really had any. I mean, Randy Moss is the best receiver they ever had on their squad. So they were just good all around at how they managed their team, managed their money, and everything else that kind of went with it. You got to give them credit for that.
You know how they did it? Go ahead and read it. What did Frank say?
I said the success of the Patriots is a blueprint to all the teams. You need football people making football decisions.
Here's the formula for the New England Patriots. They acquired players, veterans, who either got paid by someone else and was willing to take less money to win a Super Bowl,
Yep.
or they drafted well and didn't have to pay those rookies until their second contract. And if they were looking for max pay, they shipped them out somewhere else because they coached up the backup player so well that that backup player was able to move into that position as a starter and establish their name and their brand. That's the formula to the New England Patriots. Everybody was on the same page. Everybody knew what they had to do. If you wanted to function outside of that space, you were gone, because you said it. They would let guys go who were at the top of their game, right? They let them go, and they went somewhere else and got paid.
Yep.
Absolutely. They didn't mind doing it because they coached up the guy who was behind them. So that is the blueprint. They don't get it right every year because obviously they lost some games. They lost some Super Bowls, in other words. They don't get it right, but they get it close. That's the best blueprint out there. That's exactly right. So those who fight City Hall, then you don't win. But if you copy what the blueprint is, it gives you a chance to win. But it's also tough, right? It's also having the right player on the team with the right mentality to agree to that blueprint. And for some reason, Bill Belichick is he has a better relationship with players than people are willing to admit, right? People love that guy. They don't say it publicly all the time, but when you catch a guy who's retired who played for Bill Belichick, you don't find very many saying anything negative about him. They love that guy.
So we have some comments over here. Justin is refuting your formula, Bodine, and he's saying that they had Tom Brady, and that's why they won, Bo.
Well, we know he's in your corner, Joe. Tom Brady can do no wrong. It's not the head coach. It's not the coaching staff. It's not the general manager. It's all TB12. That's all.
George is saying Raheem Mostert to the Dolphins, 1 year, $3 million. Troy saying Von Miller to Buffalo. What in the Sam Hill is going on?
Buffalo needs a run. Buffalo knows that if you got a quarterback who can put up 30 points a game and you're going to be competing against Patrick Mahomes, Russell Wilson, the kid Herbert, and the kid from the quarterback, I just talked about that division, you got to have a pass rusher. No pass rusher, you don't win. Buffalo knows.
Von Miller is also a very good run defender as well.
Yeah.
So
you got to have pass rushers to compete against those guys, or those guys are going to throw. We know Patrick Mahomes. He throws up 30 in his sleep when he's playing well, right?
Yeah.
So you got to have some rushers. And look out for Pittsburgh. Look what Pittsburgh did. What do you think of what Pittsburgh did?
Who'd they get?
What's his name? The quarterback that used to play for.
They got
from Chicago.
Chicago, yeah.
Mitchell Trubisky.
Well, we'll see what Trubisky can do.
Well, listen.
We'll see what he can do.
Listen, I never disliked Trubisky. He's an athlete. He's not a great quarterback like the retiring quarterback from Pittsburgh, but he's a better athlete, and he's going to get coached up, right? From
no doubt about that.
Pittsburgh coaching staff, right, which is a great coaching staff like the Patriots, and it's all about defense. Pittsburgh is going to stop the other team from scoring 30 a game. All Mitchell Trubisky's got to do is put up 25 and boom, they're winning. So he may not be a franchise quarterback, but he's good enough to win. So I think Pittsburgh is now back in the mix.
So Troy has a question. He's asking, why did Washington get a quarterback?
Because nobody thinks Taylor Heineke's a franchise quarterback. So they went and got sorry Carson Wentz. But don't worry, Troy. Carson always gets hurt during the season. We'll see Taylor sometime during that season. It'll happen.
And you know what? There's an example of a quarterback who had the same type of perceived abilities. What's his name? Who used to play? Who's now at the quarterback for the Minnesota Timberwolves? He used to play for Washington.
Oh,
yeah, for the Vikings, right? Minnesota
David's
Vikings.
boy, Kirk Cousins.
Kirk Cousins. They did the same thing. People had the same attitude about Kirk Cousins when he was playing quarterback for the Washington. They were like, "Oh, is he a franchise quarterback?" Then they franchise tag him, and then he eventually got the money by signing a multi-year deal with Minnesota. Your guy in Washington, he's just going to have to prove himself, and the chances are he will, because I mean, the quarterback that they just got from who was here with the Eagles, he hasn't been healthy. And when he was healthy the whole year, which was last year, what happened?
Yeah, I mean, and it's funny, and I get it. They say Taylor doesn't have the big arm, things like that, but he has the exact things that they say Carson Wentz doesn't have, and that is Carson Wentz doesn't have the ability to play in rhythm. You know what I mean? He doesn't see the field well. He does. I mean, there are a lot of things that he doesn't, and Taylor can do everything that they say Carson Wentz can't do. So sometimes you get, and I'm not an NFL evaluator. Obviously, I'm biased. I know Taylor. I know what he can do. He has success. He competes. He does all those things. But obviously, people in places that I'm not don't see him that way, and they see him as lacking in certain areas to where he's not a franchise quarterback. So, I guess it's just what he's going to have to go through. And I think the good thing is for him that he's, something's going to happen with Carson Wentz during the season, and Taylor's going to be on the field. I can guarantee that.
Well,
and if it doesn't happen, I'll owe somebody something.
Again,
but I know it's going to happen.
All you got to do is look at his record.
That's it.
Carson Wentz has been hurt almost every year he's played, except last year. And look at his play last year. He threw a ball standing in the end zone, right? In a pick six, which you think a franchise quarterback would never do. So again, I like Carson Wentz because he played for us, for the Eagles, but he got hurt. We had our backup come in and win the Super Bowl, and his career has never been the same.
Yep.
And he got paid. It's not like he didn't get paid. That dude got paid. So,
and then shipped out after a year.
We'll see.
So George is saying the Bucks and Godwin reached a deal, 33 years, $60 million, 40 guaranteed.
Listen, they are stacking up in Tampa. I'm telling you, they are going for a Super Bowl. They re-signed Godwin, brought in a new receiver. They still have another receiver. I mean, what's the starting receiver? Help me out. I'm going brain dead.
Gronk said he's coming back.
Of course he's coming back. He's going to help the team win.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, Tampa is loading up. They are ready to play. So
no doubt.
They are loading up.
Okay, where's the Super Bowl being played next year? Let's start thinking about getting our tickets.
Somebody go ahead, Google it. Ferris, Google it. It's going to be in a warm. It's going to be in a warm city. I know that much. It's either in California or Florida. How about them odds? Right? California or Florida?
Why do you say that? That's a definitive?
Arizona.
There we go. That's it.
Okay,
It ain't.
that's one.
It's not snowing in Arizona in February, so yes,
All right.
they can't have any more Super Bowls in cities where it's going to snow anymore. They lose too much money because of if a snowstorm comes, they're just like they have to spend more money when there's a snowstorm. So I doubt.
You remember when the new stadium in New Jersey was built, and they gave them the Super Bowl. Remember all the lead up to that, and everybody worrying about whether it was going to snow and whether. I mean, that was probably the worst lead up to any Super Bowl I've ever seen, just because it was in the Northeast. So
And
that's
it
not
didn't,
happening.
and it,
That's
and
not
it
happening
didn't snow,
again.
and it didn't snow, right?
No, but that's not
But-
going to happen
but-
again.
Right, but the lead up takes away from promoting it and getting people to fly there just to be in that, have that experience. So yeah, it's too much money to be lost. So no, it's all about Arizona, California, or Florida. And if Dallas was a little further south in Texas, Dallas would have a Super Bowl, but they can still get cold and they can get ice, ice snow and all that kind of stuff. So Jerry Jones will find a way to finagle the Super Bowl into his stadium one day, I'm sure.
All right. We're almost at the top of the hour already. So where do you want to head?
What?
Where do you leave?
It's time for March Madness.
All right. Let's dig in.
It's time for March Madness. So,
Well, did you watch the two playing games? Like when we're done in 10 minutes, I'm watching the last playing game.
Rutgers and Notre Dame are playing right now.
Right. The last night's playing games.
Yeah. Indiana moved on. And Wright
first
State just moved on tonight. They beat Bryant
Right.
earlier this evening.
The two Texas teams.
Yeah, and Texas
Did you
Southern
watch that?
moved on, beating Texas A&M Corpus Christi.
Did you watch that?
I did not watch that one. I watched the Indiana game last night.
Well, I want to be nice, but it's a reason why they're a playing game, because those teams were not very good. You could tell that they're just on a smaller level, and they are. They're not power conference teams, right? But they're happy to get an opportunity to get in, and then the chances of them beating all these teams are basically playing number one seeds.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not going to be there long.
Yeah, except for tonight's game. Tonight's game are two number 11s, Rutgers and Notre Dame. And the winner of this game moves on to play Alabama. And for my money, if Rutgers wins this game, I'm picking them to beat Alabama.
Really?
Really?
So yeah.
What is that? What did that be? A 5 versus 11?
It'll be a 6-11.
6-11? Yep.
Yeah.
And those are the places you can look for upsets. What is that? The 5 and 12 is also.
Yeah. So
right?
Indiana last night with the win, they're at 12.
Mm-hmm.
They play St. Mary's tomorrow,
and they could lose.
Which is a 5 seed.
Right. Yeah.
And St. Mary's is in the same conference with Gonzaga.
Mm-hmm.
They've actually beaten Gonzaga this year.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, so this college basketball this year is different. There is no one dominant team.
No, there's a lot of parity.
There's a lot of parity in this year's tournament. You could see it in the seeding and how that went after the conference tournaments ended this past week. great example. Villanova was looked at as a 3. They win the conference tournament. They end up a 2, but that happens because you had teams that lost early in their conference tournament that weren't expected to lose, so they moved up into that 2 spot. There are a lot of teams that can win this tournament.
Oh, absolutely,
no doubt. And just looking through, as I do every year, just looking through the brackets, there's always one that seems to be tougher on the 1 seed than others. And for me, for a couple reasons, it's the East. And I was actually surprised that Baylor still got the number 1 seed after losing as early as they did. And I guess that may just be respect for them being the defending national champion. But they've got injuries. They lost early in the Big 12 tournament last week. So I was surprised to see them still sitting on the 1 line. But with that said, they will probably, in my mind, be the first 1 seed to go down. In my mind.
Oh, I listen. The only 1 seed that I'm comfortable with saying that they have a chance of winning the whole thing is Gonzaga. Everybody else in the tournament is basically playing on equal footing, meaning they have a shot if they play well, right? If they play well, they don't have any injuries, like who you were saying, Baylor. Baylor got problems because they got injuries. Injuries gonna hurt. How deep is your bench, right? If you have a deep bench, you can sub. You got a chance to move in advance. But if you've got major injuries like we had last year with Gillespie being hurt, our point guard was hurt. That hurt our chances, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I'm taking the field versus if I was betting on the number 1 seeds, I'm betting on the field because I believe a team like Tennessee can surprise some people and get a really good chance to be in the Final Four.
Yeah, I agree with that. Tennessee's been very hot. With that said, ultimately, we can be looking at a rematch with them and Nova, and we beat Tennessee earlier this year, and I'm sure that we could do it again. The team that I think everybody should keep an eye on is UCLA. UCLA's had a lot of injuries this year.
Oh, we played them in the beginning of the year, didn't we?
Yeah, but they were healthy then. But throughout the year, they had a lot of injuries, and they are now totally healthy again.
And they're a good team.
Yeah, and I think a totally healthy UCLA is going to be very, very dangerous. And I think they're going to come out of the East. They're the team I have coming out of that Baylor bracket, that East bracket, beating Purdue in the Elite Eight.
Tim's got Purdue.
Yeah, he's saying Purdue.
Tim's got Purdue. Yeah, Purdue is good. So
good.
Here's the funny thing. So some of the top teams in this bracket we played this year. We played Purdue. Bad matchup for us. Big team, long team. We played Purdue, lost to them. We played UCLA, both close games, lost to them. Played Baylor. Baylor's the only team that's on this list that we played that ran us out of the gym, and they literally ran us out of the gym when we went to Waco. But I would
Tennessee,
keep my eye on
right?
UCLA.
Remember Tennessee? We played them, right? You said we played
them.
Yeah,
we played Tennessee and we beat Tennessee.
Them. That was right around the same time at the beginning of the year when we were playing UCLA and that crew, right?
Yeah. So we're
tested. Plus we're playing the Big East. We're tested.
So do we have anybody posting there? So Tim said Purdue.
Yeah.
So what we got out there, people? I don't see anybody posting any predictions, Final Four. So Can we get
George is
Final
saying-
Four predictions?
George is saying Wisconsin can win it all.
When Wisconsin always has a good team because they're well coached and they recruit good guys. So I can't argue with Wisconsin. They're always a good team. So that's a good call. Joe,
So
what do you
here's-
got? Who do you got, Joe? Any college teams that you favor?
I got to think about it for a minute. You guys go first. I'm going to look at my list. I got to look at the whole list.
So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start it off, Bo. I'm going to start it off, and I'm going to give my Final Four. And I want to see from our audience out there. I want to see other people's Final Fours, and let's see what people are thinking. How about we do that?
And you know what? I don't even have one yet because I don't even have my brackets. I don't even buy a bracket until tomorrow.
Oh,
when
dude,
the actual seedings are done.
well then make
right?
one up,
So
because Rutgers or Notre Dame ain't winning it. so
oh
I'm
no,
gonna give mine.
I'm not betting on Notre Dame or Rutgers either.
So I'm going to give mine. So here's my Final Four. I have Gonzaga coming out of the West, beating Texas Tech in the Elite Eight. So the third seed in the West is Texas Tech. I have them meeting Gonzaga in the Elite Eight and Gonzaga coming out of the West. In the East, I have UCLA beating Purdue in the Elite Eight in the East. So the first Final Four matchup would be Gonzaga and UCLA. Then out of the South, and of course, but this isn't about bias. When I saw the South region, I smiled because there is no size or length that Villanova is going to have to really try to run through. And size and length is where we struggle.
Our
Bigger
kryptonite.
teams, longer teams really make it
kryptonite.
tough on us.
Yep.
You know
that's
what I mean?
Kryptonite. Yep.
Yeah. And so we don't have that in front of us. So I have Arizona, Villanova in the Elite Eight, and I have Villanova coming out of the South. And then finally in the Midwest, I have chalk. I have Kansas and Auburn in the Elite Eight, and I have Kansas coming out. So my Final Four is Gonzaga, UCLA, Villanova, and Kansas. Villanova would play Kansas. Gonzaga would play UCLA.
Okay. Tim is saying Iowa, Purdue, Villanova, and Duke.
Okay, that's interesting. That's interesting because Duke has not been playing well. Iowa has been really hot, and I think I have Iowa going. Where do I have? How far do I have Iowa going? I have Iowa going. I have Iowa meeting Kansas in the Sweet 16 and Kansas beating them. I think for the first time, we've seen Kansas a lot. Kansas gets a lot of high seeds, and then they disappoint and they lose early. I think this Kansas team is the best Kansas team we've seen in quite a while, and I don't think they're going to stub their toe this year. What's that we have there?
Justin.
UConn, Murray State, Arizona, and Auburn. Murray State's an interesting take. So we know Ja Morant came out of Murray State a couple years ago, had the big tournament. But Murray State still has a couple players from that team on this squad. So Murray State is actually they're a veteran squad. They're seasoned and they've been here before. So wouldn't be surprising to see Murray State go deeper than most people would pick them.
I wouldn't be surprised if Arizona beats us because they're just like us. Remember, we played them a couple of years
no
ago
doubt.
we played them a couple of years ago in the tournament, and we got lucky, if I'm not mistaken. They're always a tough team.
Yeah, no doubt. And Arizona, many people think Arizona's the best team in the country right now, but they had an injury in this Pac-12 tournament recently. So one of their players,
The point guard,
went down.
Yeah, point guard or the shooting guard, one of the two.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see if he comes back and plays.
Yep.
UConn has a history of doing well in the South. Who does UConn have? UConn's in the a lot of people have UConn beating Gonzaga.
I don't see that.
I've
It'll
seen quite a bit of
game.
that out there.
I think it'll be a good game, but I don't see that happening. Mm-mm. Joe, do you want to give your Final Four, or do you want to wait till next week? And give yourself some time?
I have a preliminary Final Four, but I think I want to wait till next week.
Well, yeah, go ahead.
And we want to do the women's too. So we definitely want to get the women's next week because Villanova has their men's and women's in the final in the tournament this year. So that's good.
And that's
Go ahead,
rarely.
Joe. Go ahead, Joe.
I did a little bit of reading, and I'm not entirely savvy on the whole. I'm going to have to do some more research, but I read that Duke and Kentucky could be potential in the top four, and Arizona and potentially Kansas. But I also like UConn because I like Rutgers, not to win, but I do like that school. I like that team. So
Those
that's
are their choices: Duke, Kentucky, Arizona, and Kansas.
And all those teams you like all have history of playing well. So it's not like you're picking teams that don't have a history of playing well, right? So
and I like UCLA. So I'm not committed to my Final Four, but I do have a Final 10 I'm playing with.
Kentucky's another team that Kentucky's another team like Kansas, who I think this year is more cohesive as a team, a better team, rather than the bunch of one and dones that they've had and failed with in the past few seasons. Kentucky's another. I mean, the potential Kentucky Purdue matchup in the Sweet 16. That's going to be a barn burner. That's going to be a big one.
Well, the ability for players to transfer into that portal,
yes,
makes it more equitable than it has been in the past. So in other words, there's going to be a lot of parity, and I'm pretty sure that could be a small reason why the Duke head coach says, I had enough. I've done it. I've got a resume. I'm a Hall of Famer. Let me get out of here, because it's tough now to compete. You got to have the energy. You have to have the relationships. You've got to adjust with the times. And some of the old heads are like, I'm done this. This is crazy, because it's like the Wild Wild West out there, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of parity, and this gives other teams an opportunity to compete. That ability to transfer. So I think this is going to be an outstanding tournament this year. Players are going to be showing their skill. They're going to show who they are, and it's just going to be exciting. So I don't know about you, but it won't be a lot of sleep around here.
Well, that's nothing new.
Well, there won't be a whole lot of work either.
Oh no, productivity. Folks are going to be demanding to go back to the virtual world that we were locked into for 2 years, right? Instead of getting back to the office. And no productivity is happening starting definitely on Thursday, no doubt.
Well, we'll have to see what happens. We'll have to see what happens over the course of the week. Everybody get your Final Four together for next week. I do want to say Mr. Sanders joined us. Good evening, Mr. Sanders.
Oh, Pops, he's hanging in there.
He's hanging in there. All right, so this is your opportunity. You got some good feedback on the Final Four, and hopefully everybody out there will have to write them all down next week and make a commitment. Oh, George is coming in with the Wisconsin, Nova, Zags, and Purdue.
George, I'll write you a check later. Thanks, buddy.
It's going to be interesting to see what the Big Ten does. So
Oh,
the Big
absolutely.
Ten got 9 teams in.
Mm.
They got 9 teams in last year, and they got whooped.
They
last
got
year.
whooped bad.
They got whooped. So I
Yep.
think everybody's waiting and looking to see if the Big Ten will make amends for last year's outing, because last year's showing was terrible for them.
How many did we get in? 5 or 6 this year?
We got 6. Big 12, Big 10, 9, Big 12, Big East, 6. Who else got 6? SEC 6, ACC 5.
Yep. Power conferences. There you go. All right.
So,
Let's jump to it. I want to
All
watch the
right.
rest of this game.
Okay, well, all right. So thanks everybody for tuning in. We had Justin, of course, George, Tim Fielder, Troy was here, Andy, Mr. Sanders, of course, and I think we got everybody there. Frank,
Calvin,
Frank, Calvin, going through.
good turnout tonight.
Going through, yeah, we had a lot of.
Thanks, everybody.
I don't know if I think I said Andy. So we appreciate everybody tuning in, and as the tournament goes on, we'll have a lot more banter. It'll be an exciting week and see what happens. So, and of course, our referee and man behind the scenes, we have Crispy Bacon back there. So no show is complete without Chris's assistance. So we thank you. So you can play us out, Chris. Good night, everybody. See you next week.